we have recently passed Charlie Kirk Day, which was supposed to be the 14th of October, same day as his birthday. And just been reflecting a little bit, thinking about Charlie Kirk and his death and all of the support I guess him and his family have received, which I'm glad to see. And we're around, I think it's been a little bit over a month since his passing, since he was killed. And while I'm not going to talk about his death specifically, I wanted to talk about the reactions to his death. Primarily, I've just been kind of waiting, wanted to give it a little time. And like I said, we're about a month, roughly a month, around a month out from his passing. And I am still wondering at this point, where are all of the riots? Where is the violence? Where are some of the things that we have seen on behalf of the left or BLM in somewhat similar situations? Because we all remember what happened after George Floyd's death. Dude was hailed as a hero, and the reaction on behalf of a lot of different people was to go out, set things on fire, and destroy property, vandalize property. And I'm just curious, where is that on behalf of the right when it comes to their reaction to Charlie Kirk's death? Well, I haven't heard about that. I haven't seen anything about large groups of people getting together to destroy property and hurt people and commit crimes in the name of Charlie Kirk to protest his death. What I have seen, and I think that the right's reaction to Charlie Kirk's death is one that would make him proud. I think Charlie Kirk is proud that conservatives have not engaged in the same kind of actions that the left has participated in the past in reaction to his death. And what I have seen is something that is far more uplifting. I have seen I have seen people come out to celebrate Charlie Kirk's life, to make memorials in his honor. I have seen vigils. I have seen people people together in prayer, people talking about church, people talking about the Christian values that he did his best to uphold. And is that not a better path? I mean, come on. Is that not a more productive path forward as opposed to what we've seen from BLM and different examples of that kind of political rioting? And I think that, and I just want to say that I think that the right's reaction is a profitable reaction, one that is not destructive, one that is not necessarily politically distracting, one that I think truly honors the person that they are mourning. And so I think that you can see a clear difference. I think that you can see a clear difference of how people react. Think about this. You have a lifelong criminal who dies while getting arrested for the umpteenth time, and people are so outraged that they're going to go out and commit acts of commit criminal acts and riot and do all these different things. Then you have a political spokesperson who never committed any crimes, never hurt nobody. He was trying to live his life. He was trying to have a positive impact on people's lives. Did he say everything right? No. Did he do everything right? I'm sure, probably not. Did a lot of people disagree with him over a lot of different things? Sure. But otherwise seemed to be a good-natured human being, was assassinated and killed in front of his children while engaging in healthy political debate and conversation. And Charlie Kirk was a far greater man than George Floyd. And he was a much more respectable man than George Floyd. And the reactions to Charlie Kirk's death have been far more respectable as well. And I will say this. Conservatives have handled it the right way. I will also give a lot of more left-wing political activists or speakers. They also have they also have kind of, joined together, and I've seen a lot of people shed tears, people that would consider Charlie Kirk to be a political opponent. I've seen people shed tears. I've seen people, wish his family the best, thoughts and prayers, all those different things. People that disagreed with him, people that didn't agree with some of the things that he said or some of the beliefs that he had. And so I will also give some of the more left-leaning individuals credit as well, because they have also shown support for Charlie Kirk's life and what he did and what he stood for, and then for his family as well. But there are still some very extreme takes when it comes to the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death. And one in particular, some of you, or a lot of you, probably know who Destiny is. Destiny is he's a political speaker, often streams on Twitch, and I've listened to Destiny some. Honestly, I think he's a little bit more entertaining. Some of the discussions that Destiny gets into, these large panels, he's just debating everybody. It's kind of entertaining, and so I've listened to him a little bit, and he has become more and more popular over the last few years. And his reaction to the memorial service of Charlie Kirk went something like this. And this is MSN. This is MSN.com, an article from MSN, which says, quote, Stephen Kenneth Bunnell II, popularly known as Destiny, is an American streamer and political commentator renowned for his blunt and often controversial opinions. Destiny recently drew widespread attention after describing the memorial service for conservative activist Charlie Kirk, held at State Farm Stadium in Arizona, as indistinguishable, quote, indistinguishable from a Nazi rally on X, formerly Twitter. His remarks sparked outrage across social media, and critics accusing him of exaggerating for shock value and politicizing grief. The controversy escalated when Destiny refused to condemn Kirk's assassination without a public call for calm from Donald Trump, intensifying debates about free speech, online commentary, and political accountability. So you have Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's wife, get on stage in front of everybody and speak fondly of her husband and his legacy, and also forgive in what I have seen many call one of the greatest acts of forgiveness they've ever seen. Forgive her husband's killer. And she did this in front of a crowd full of supporters from a bunch of different backgrounds, bunch of different races, bunch of different beliefs, people who might not agreed with Charlie Kirk on every single thing that he said, but nonetheless were there to support Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA and the overall message that Charlie Kirk had. That is indistinguishable from a Nazi rally. Forgiving your enemies, uniting together, celebrating the life of a successful speaker, celebrating the life of somebody who never did anything wrong, who never hurt anybody, who dedicated his entire life to preaching the gospel and having conversations with young people, trying to inspire young men and help young men. Yes, that is, yes, Destiny. That is definitely indistinguishable from a Nazi rally. Yes, you got it right again. Good job. Just foolishness, complete foolishness. And I will say this: I'm getting kind of fed up of the whole Nazi. Everything's a Nazi. Everybody's Nazi. You know, all this all the time. That's all everybody ever talks about. And this is the same kind of rhetoric that led to Trump's assassination attempt. And I also think that this kind of rhetoric played a role in inspiring Charlie Kirk's shooter, because Charlie Kirk was, people have knighted him as, a conservative voice, but I've even heard people say that he was a moderate. It's not even that he was necessarily like conservative or right leaning. He was like a moderate on a number of different things. So you have this guy who, maybe leans a little bit more right, or some people consider him to be a moderate. What would inspire somebody to kill him, right? What would inspire somebody to kill that person? Constant, nonstop rhetoric of this guy's hateful, this guy's evil, Hitler, this guy, Nazis, and that's the thing. The labeling, I think, has crossed the line into danger. And some of these extreme people that want to label all of their political enemies, it's just always Nazis. What do you do to Nazis? Well, you take them out. That's what you do. That's that's what that's what the Allies did during World War II. And so while you might not be saying, hey, you should go, we should somebody or we should go kill these people. If you're constantly just calling them Nazis, then it's almost the violence is almost implicit in it. Because if you're just constantly if you're just constantly calling people Nazis all the time, and then violence is committed against those people whom you have labeled Nazis, it's kind of like, well, what what did you expect, really? And again, I think the labels have just gone too far. And it's one thing. Look, he's like, well, this person, he's just being a Nazi about this, about X, whatever it is. Okay, whatever. You say something stupid, joking around, whatever. Who cares? But this constant, ceaseless, nonstop labeling every single person. So you're just going to label every single person you disagree with. Yeah, trying, yeah, all the people, this rally, if, and this is what I'm saying about implicit meaning. If you say that Charlie Kirk's memorial service is indistinguishable from a Nazi rally, well, doesn't that automatically make everybody in attendance a Nazi? It's like, well, he didn't actually say that. Okay, but we all know what the real meaning is here. We all know what the real meaning is here, and that is that they're just going to label all your enemies Nazis, label them as some of the worst people, in history, right? And it's just gone way too far. And in the end, and I think I've said this before, it takes away from the suffering or the acts actually perpetrated by real Nazis back in the 1940s, right? If everybody's just a Nazi, then it waters down the suffering that was actually caused. It waters down what people actually suffered at the hands of Nazis back in the 1940s during World War II. And so it's just not profitable. It's not profitable. And this is what I said similar things after Trump's assassination attempt, where you just hear this constant, oh, he's Hitler, well, he's Stalin, well, he's a dictator, well, he's this, well, he's that. If you're just constantly saying this nonstop, and larger groups of people was like, wow, if they're just calling him, if they're just calling him Hitler all the time, that if you call him a dictator nonstop, then it must be partial, at least partially true. And so if Trump is a dictator, if Trump is a Nazi, if Trump is literally Hitler, then what do? Well, you take a pot shot at him, right? That's what you do. And so this ceaseless rhetoric, the ceaseless, well, our opponents are Nazis, people at Charlie Kirk's rally are Nazis, the rally's indistinguishable from a Nazi rally. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It's untrue. And at some point, I do believe that it becomes dangerous. That kind of rhetoric does become dangerous. And so I think it's very hard not to say, in the end, going back to what I was saying earlier, it's very hard not to say that the right's reaction, and again, I'll throw in there's a lot of liberal people out there who also supported Charlie Kirk's family and in his message and the life that he lived. They might not have agreed with him politically, but at least he engaged in open conversation. Right? They agree with that part. And so some people on the left also, shed tears and condolences and all these different things. It was obviously better. Is this not a more profitable? Is that not a more profitable way? The way that the right reacted, the way that people reacted to Charlie Kirk's death, is obviously a more profitable than how people reacted to George Floyd's death, how the left reacted to George Floyd's death. So but it doesn't matter. It still doesn't matter. It's still, oh, they're still Nazis. It's still a Nazi. Ridiculous nonsense. Anyway, a funny meme that I saw on Instagram was released by the Daily Wire, and it made me talking about the Charlie Kirk memorial service made me think of this, and it's again a play on all the labels that Trump has inherited over his tenure as the president of the United States. And the Daily Wire released this meme, and it said literally Hitler saving when literally Hitler saves uh, the Jewish um, the Jewish captives, right? Because Trump has now been the middleman in brokering this ceasefire between Israel and Palestine. And to my knowledge, all of the living hostages, Israeli hostages that were in captivity on behalf of Hamas, have been returned back home. And so that's obviously good. That's obviously a win for Trump. And it appears that he has multiple stages. The ceasefire and the returning of the Israeli hostages was the first phase of the ceasefire, and there's more phases to come. Whether or not those will actually play out remains to be seen. But I wanted to talk about this on not necessarily just that, but also Trump's global efforts generally. And I was looking back at this earlier this week where I was going through, because here's the thing about Trump. And I have been critical of Trump, and I have been supportive of some of the things that he has done. But when you're talking about, I don't know if you want to say it's an intangible, but this desire to be present. And Trump has established that he has a desire to be present. He has a desire to be the ambassador for the United States. And I was going back and I was looking at all of the trips that Trump has made and all of the summits and all the visitation that he has done with other countries, other world leaders, other governments. And to me, it's impressive. The energy that he has spent being an ambassador for the United States, traveling around the world, trying to get things done. Does it always work out? Does America always come out on top every single time? No, but the effort is what I appreciate. And as somebody, if you're the president of the United States, then yeah, you should be going around, you should be pulling for us. And that's why I say about like these tariffs. I don't know. I am not well educated. I will admit that when it comes to, I have some pretty big gaps in knowledge when it comes to just straight up law. If you're going to explain to me the details of judicial hearings and what the actual law is and how all these things work, I'm going to have a harder time keeping up. If you're going to go into great detail about economic responses and how the tariffs are going to affect the economy long term and different economic strategies that we should follow, if you're going to go into detail about that, I will admit I am not. Um, I'm probably not the first person you want up to bat in those kind of conversations. But I will say, at least he's just saying we're being taken advantage of. People in countries, they're taking advantage of us. We are giving way too much. They are taking way too much from us. We are giving way too much, and we just need to put a stop to it. Now, whether or not these tariffs work out long term, I don't know. Whether or not that was actually the right decision, I don't know. But at least he's trying. At least it's not just this, well, what can you do? We'll just sit here and deal with it. He's like, enough of this crap. We have dealt with it. We have been on the losing end on a lot of these deals, and we're sick of it. We're sick of it. And so he's going to put the hammer down economically if he has to. And so again, the energy that he has put forth, he had the, what was it? He had this is from the White House's official website, August 8th, 2025. Today, President Donald J. Trump hosted Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan at the White House, where the two leaders signed a historic joint declaration for peace after decades of bitter conflict and scores of lives lost, a landmark achievement for international diplomacy that only President Trump could deliver. The two leaders also signed bilateral economic agreements with the U.S., unlocking the great potential of the Southern Caucasus region in trade, transit, energy, infrastructure, and technology, and creating new opportunities for the American people and American businesses. And then he follows through with brokering the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. I read just last night that Zelensky is, I believe he is in the United States. Him and Trump are getting ready to have a meeting. Hopefully, maybe something will become of the Russia-Ukraine conflict after this meeting. And I'm just saying that Trump's energy, I feel like every time I'm turning around, Trump is traveling somewhere, he's meeting with somebody, he is arguing on our behalf. He's trying to do something. He's trying to do something. And for all his flaws and all the dumb things that he said and all of the negative things that come along with his attitude, and he certainly hasn't done everything right. He certainly hasn't said everything correctly. But at least he is active in the world. That's what and people say that the president is the most powerful man in the world. He is essentially the leader of, I guess you could say, the free world. I don't think that China would claim Donald Trump as the leader of the world because China has different intentions. But at the end of the day, the United States, that's who everybody looks to. And a lot of times, for all the crap that different countries like to give the United States, I do think it's like a little brother, big brother kind of relationship. Little brother's always looking at some of these countries. They're just always looking to see, well, what's America going to do? What's Trump going to do? And so for Trump to be active, he is actively pursuing he's actively pursuing peace between Israel and Hamas. Maybe he can make some headway when it comes to the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and he is trying to put different countries that have taken advantage of us economically in their place. He's at least trying. He's at least present. He's at least active, and I give him credit for that.